during this pandemic. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the panel discussion of World Space Week in Sri Lanka 2021 under the theme Celebrating the Accomplishments of Women in Space. Jointly organized by the Media Division of SED Sri Lanka and SED's UOC, collaborating with SED Sri Lanka, this discussion will be a great use to any listener who wishes to pursue a career in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, and especially to the young ladies as Nipuni Panniyarachi from SED's UOC, and I'll be your host for this evening. Before we start off, there are a few announcements to our wonderful audience. During the session, you can post your questions in the chat, which will be answered in the Q&A session. Please note that we will be answering as many questions as possible during the session. In the meantime, we will also send a link to our feedback form, so please be kind enough to fill that in as well. To start with the proceedings, I cordially invite Ms. Malisha Kitpini, the Divisional Manager of SED Sri Lanka, to introduce SEDS, which stands for Students for the Exploration and Development of Space, to the non-SEDers in the audience, along with a brief introduction of World Space Week 2021. Ms. Malisha, over to you.
Yes, I think I'm audible for you. Can you all hear me? Hello, Nipuni, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ms. Malisha.
Okay, so good evening to everyone. So I'm really happy that everyone is really passionate about this program. So first of all, I would like to I give a brief introduction about SED Sri Lanka, and also I have to say you that SEDS is an international organization which is based in various countries in the world. So SED Sri Lanka is the national organization of Sri Lanka, which is for the students who are passionate in space and astronomy and all. So I think most of the students are from SEDS juniors, right? Okay, yes. So I'm really happy for that. So because our younger generation is really passionate and enthusiastic about these things. So yes, as SED Sri Lanka, we have gone through many projects in the last year, like Serendip and Uthpala, very important project. So likewise, this program is also another project of SED Sri Lanka, which is in collaborated with University of Colombo, which is another great chapter of SED Sri Lanka. So and SED Sri Lanka, and also have to thank my team members, especially the people from Magnetart team, the media division of SED Sri Lanka, and also especially University of Colombo, one of the greatest chapters of SED Sri Lanka. And so I think we have a great idea about SED Sri Lanka and SEDS. So I welcome all, go through this program and have a good idea about what you are learning, what you are looking for. And I think this will be a great help for you all for your studies and also for the things you are passionate about. So I think as an organization and also as media division, we are really proud to collaborate with SEDS UOC chapter, Columbia University chapter, to have this program. So I'm really proud of that. So I think, Nipuni, that's all from my side. And I hope this will be a great opportunity to you all. So thank you and welcome all.
Thank you, Ms. Malisha. Now it is the moment you all have been waiting for. Today, we have a wonderful panel of eminent guest speakers who have been working hard to achieve their goals and dreams among the stars. Let me introduce them. Our first panelist is Ms. Bernadette Detera. She is a space advocate and an active member of Space Generation Advisory Council, also known as SGAC, promoting space education and capacity building activities for young space professionals. She is currently the regional coordinator for Asia Pacific region in SGAC and has also served the national point of contact for the Philippines. She is a master's degree holder in system engineering in Keio University, Japan, with
Recording in
research
progress.
experience in big data analysis and remote sensing for societal applications and disaster management. Additionally, Bernadette is the Global Network Implementation Support Officer of the Moon Village Association. Welcome, Ms. Bernadette. What do you think about the World Space Week 2021 and its theme for this year?
Right. Thank you so much, Nipuni, for your kind introduction, and thank you for having me here, said Sri Lanka. I think this year is really exciting. I've been looking forward for the World Space Week, especially for this year, because finally the theme is, about women in space, which is such a very important topic right now. So I think you guys and every one of us, are very lucky that we can celebrate this moment under this theme. So looking forward to the discussion.
We are lucky indeed. Now let me introduce the next speaker, Ms. Uthpala. Uthpala got her bachelor's degree in engineering from the University of Moratuwa and currently doing her master's in business administration. She has experience in process and product innovation from the conceptualization phase to commercialization. She has contributed to several research and publications under space safety and sustainability and publications. And has been involved in space entrepreneurship projects. Working continuously in the area of space and astronomy for Asia Pacific region for the past years, she is the national point of contact for Sri Lanka at SGAC. Welcome, Ms. Uthpala. What are you currently working on these days with SGAC?
Yes. Thank you, Nipuni, for your introduction. I would like to thank SEED Sri Lanka to organizing this and to inviting me to this session. I think it's great to celebrate World Space Week in Sri Lanka virtually through this event. So these days, I'm working on different projects, and especially on space sector, few researchers as well. And especially we are working on with SGAC for Asia Pacific Space Generation workshop that will be happen online on December. So these days on the space, I'm working on those things. Great to be here and looking forward for the discussion.
That sounds wonderful. And now our final guest speaker, Ms. Sandali Kumarasinghe. She is a young space enthusiast and a space camp alumna who is also a STEMinist that works, studies, advocates in science, technology, engineering, and math. And she encourages women to pursue careers in STEM field. Just like Alisa Carson of the US, she is Sri Lanka's very own space enthusiast, currently studying aerospace engineering and is also a part of the Mars Generations 24 under 24. Welcome, Ms. Sandali. How do you feel about being among the 13 finalists of the Dear Moon project? And what is exactly this Dear Moon project?
Thank you, Ms. Nipuni. First of all, it's a great honor to be here. It's my first project under Sri Lanka, so it's a huge honor. So Dear Moon is a project. It's a contest which chooses 8 civilians to go to the moon in 2023. So the project was first funded by Yusaku Masawa, who is a Japanese entrepreneur. So this is so I got to know about this in this year beginning around February or March. So I randomly took part in this contest. I randomly filled this application form and I just sent it. And I never really expected that I would be able to reach this far. So there are several phases. First, they have the phase which they recruit. They will put on applications and like anyone can apply for it. And then there'll be like several tasks which we have to complete. And so I have reached the fourth phase out of the all 5 stages of the eminent contest. And so there were millions of applicants who applied for this from all around the world. And so it's a huge honor to represent Sri Lanka because we couldn't still reach the space. Still Sri Lanka couldn't reach the space. As astronauts. So it's a huge honor. So unfortunately, I could only come up to this phase of the whole project, but still it's a huge honor and it's a great opportunity that I was able to take part. So yeah.
That's a huge honor to us as Sri Lankans as well. Now, let's move on to the good questions. Let me start off with Miss Bernadette Detera. Miss Bernadette, as someone from the STEM field who has been working in SGAC and space-related projects, what are the challenges women usually face when pursuing STEM careers, and how can we face these challenges bravely?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think I would love to hear the perspectives from the other panelists here, but it's actually, I think there are a lot. It's hard to enumerate. I'm trying to list it down, but I think it's quite hard to pinpoint exactly and make up a list. But as you know, space is, well, a part of the STEM field, and which is still or inherently male dominated. So that in itself pose challenges. And I think when you were growing up as well, people are not really encouraging you to become aerospace engineers when you were 7, right? So I think that itself is a challenge. But based on my experience recently, I think one of the most pressing or hard challenge is really having the feeling of being intimidated by others, especially of the male space leaders that we have. So when you are working, especially internationally, and you come from a developing country and you're a woman, of course, like you still feel this lack of confidence in yourself, and sometimes being intimidated by the accomplishments of people around you. They all have PhDs, they're from the Western countries or so on. They all have these amazing titles, and you really don't feel that confident, so you become intimidated and you don't really speak up your mind well. So I think that's one of the challenge. Really, it's still there, unfortunately, and it's really affecting us very much in how we perform, even though women in space are strong, we have a lot of potential, but still because of that barrier, it inhibits us from doing more out of our potential. So I think that's one. And I'd say that one other challenge is the lack of support or mentorship as well, because I've noticed that there are still a few, role models, female role models, And especially for us, I think it really helps if we do have some sort of mentor or role model that we look up to. It could be not, a formal mentor that we have, like a formal relationship kind of thing, but even just indirectly receive mentorship from someone, or have like a group that supports you as well and understand these issues. So I think that is still a challenge. There's still a gap there, and we can still do something about it. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll all those problems in future and empower women to work in space. Okay, now the next question goes to Ms. Uthpala. Sri Lanka appears to do relatively well in terms of gender representation in the broad field of STEM education. For instance, according to the University Grants Commission, females accounted for nearly half, or 49%, of undergraduate enrollments in STEM subjects in local universities in 2017, in comparison to the global figure of 35%. As a female technology entrepreneur, what is your point of view about this growth level, and is it enough, and how can we maintain and develop it?
Yes, Nipuni. So I feel very proud that Sri Lanka is having higher percentage of female representation in undergraduate studies than global benchmark. But still, I see there's a gap, especially if we consider technology subjects like engineering or physical subjects. So we see there are no much representation of female in universities. So for engineering, I think it is only below 10%. So we need to enhance female presentation in those areas as well. If you consider innovation, I will take innovation because I am very familiar with that. If we consider innovation, so as female, we have a lot of strength in innovation. Like we have good creativity and problem solving skills, and also female, we are very multitasking. And also we have a good dedication for the work. So we can use these characteristics in build us, and we can enhance female representation in technology and science and physics areas as well. If we consider most of the innovation in world, it is because of female. Like if we consider products like fashion, cosmetics, and safety products, the safety elements in cars and vehicles. So those were impacted because of female actually. If we don't have female in this society, we don't have these cosmetic products or fashion elements, most of things. So it is necessary to have female in technology field and their ideas and creativity to make the world better tomorrow. So I feel as Sri Lankans, we have to build up female knowledge and female presentation in especially engineering and technology fields. So if we can improve on that, so there's more benefits for us as a nation. Most of the companies see the benefits of females as if there are more females, now they have recognized the productivity increases and they have more revenue. So we have to gather female and enhance their skills and knowledge and build a network in technology and physics. Those are my ideas about current level in universities and where we have to grow.
Thank you, Ms. Uthpala. It's really interesting to hear that the corporate sector is now interested in recruiting females. That's kind of a new hope. So our next question goes to Ms. Sandali. In 2019, you were awarded a scholarship at Space Camp in Advanced Space Academy in USA. I think our audience is excited to hear about your experience about it.
So the Advanced Space Academy Space Camp is a 6-day program which was held at US Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, United States. So basically, Space Camp is a summer camp. So I mean, this might not as huge as for Sri Lankans to Americans, because it's a space camp. They would usually take part in their summer vacation. But as a Sri Lankan, it was a huge opportunity for me to identify certain abilities and identify why I need to study space, and it actually motivated me to choose a career in space. So in 2018, I got to know about the space camp, and back in those days, I was not planning to choose a career in space or astronomy. So I was really passionate about it before as well, but at that point, I was not hoping to pursue a career in space, because there's no direct path here in Sri Lanka to pursue that career, because we don't have a space agency, we don't have like a direct organization which we would work for in the future. So I didn't really had the idea of choosing space as a career. So in 2018, I got to know about Space Camp, and it was kind of a turning point in my life. And I kind of did a research, Google research on Space Camp to know what it's like to be in Space Camp and what kind of events or activities are taking place in Space Camp. So I actually texted one of my friends who have been to Space Camp, who is an American. So she told me a few facts about Space Camp, how it inspired her to choose a career in space and to become an astronaut one day. So when I first researched about Space Camp, the tuition fee was around $1,500, which is like a huge amount for Sri Lankans. So I first informed my dad, whether you can, fund this or not. So he said, it's a huge amount and it's a considerably huge amount for us. So maybe you should do it when you complete your studies. So I really wanted to do it because I was kind of shy introvert person who is not willing to talk, who is not willing to take part in like risky or challenging situations. So at that point, I really wanted to try it. I really wanted to step out of my comfort zone to know if I can, do something out of my comfort zone. So I got to know about the Space Camp Scholarship. They are providing scholarship for students who are representing as leaders and students who are having financial difficulties. So I applied for scholarship under the leadership category. So in the beginning of 2019, I got to know that I was able to win the scholarship. And so I got the chance, that was how I got the chance to take part in Space Camp. So Space Camp is a 6-day program. So it literally trains you how the life is on space and what kind of things astronauts do. And it is created in a much similar way to NASA missions, because it's also one of the visitor centers for NASA, Marshall Flight Center. So I had several missions, like extended duration mission. So in that mission, so our team has to send several astronauts to space and then to recover them back to Earth. So it's not only about space, but also about leadership. So we learned how to work in a team, and as well how we can do better if we are working in a team. So there were other 2 missions as well, the low Earth orbit mission. So in that mission, I was one of the mission specialists. So mission specialist is one of those astronauts who do extracurricular activities. So I had the opportunity to do an extracurricular activity. So these are not like the real mission, but it was made in a, it was like a simulation process. So, and there was another mission which we had to send a rover to Mars. And so it was not about the astronauts, but also the guidance that is provided under the mission control in NASA. So I got the opportunity to experience how it like to be in space, as well as how it like to work here on Earth, to navigate and to guide them to work in space. So rather than the missions, there were simulators like 1/6 gravity chair and multi-axis trainer, and there was this underwater astronaut training. So unfortunately, I couldn't do it because Huntsville is Alabama is a place with there are thunderstorms, and it can be really violent. So there was a pretty it was not violent, but we were afraid that it might harm the trainees. So unfortunately, we couldn't do that. And we launched a rocket as well. And also there were a few engineering challenges like designing a spacesuit and also some leadership activities. So that is my experience to space camp. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I think most of our dream will be like participating to one of those. So let's have hope in it. So this question goes to all three of you in common. What inspired you to enter the space industry? Were you passionate about the space from a very young age? Let's start from Miss Bernadette.
Yes, thank you. I guess my passion, my first love, I'd say, is astronomy. I really started with that, and I think like you, like we didn't have like any space program before when I was a kid, so it's really we don't even dream about it yet when I was a child. But well, we do have the sky, and I remember as a child, I always loved looking at the moon and watching, the stars. Because I live in the countryside, so I can see a lot. There's no light pollution. There's not so much light pollution. So I guess I really started with that. And even in my bachelor's degree, which was not space related at all, so I was part of the Astronomical Society, one of the biggest in the Philippines, and it was just a hobby for me at that time, but I was really passionate about it. So I really joined that while doing my degree in the non-space, in industrial engineering, actually, and yeah, and at that time I volunteered a lot, and I became the president of that organization eventually, and we expanded, and then since I'm from the engineering background, I figured, I love astronomy, but I like to get my hands more dirty and go to more like engineering stuff. Yeah, and then I met SGAC. I've known SGAC, and I joined SGAC, and I've attended the event of SGAC, and from there, I actively volunteered, and and the rest is history. So I think that's how like I transitioned my life or my career into space.
Okay. How about Miss Uthpala?
Yes. So I would say I was interested in astronomy from very, very young. It was about like very young, like 8, 9 years old. Then I joined my school astronomy society. The change was there. Actually, at school, we did a lot of things with the astronomical society. So from grade 6 onwards, I was working there and engaging with night camps, different things, organizing quizzes. So I built up my astronomy knowledge. So then when I entered to university, unfortunately, I didn't have any choice to choose space engineering in Sri Lanka. There was no any space related engineering degree at University of Morato or any other university. Because of that, I did different field in engineering, but I involved in many self-studies in space and in astronomy. And then I found out that there is a link between engineering and space. If we learn any kind of engineering, like I have learned chemical and process engineering, so there we can apply that knowledge to space as well. So we have different manufacturing methods that is applied in space and industrial engineering methods. When we build rockets, we have 3D printing, and a lot of things we can apply to space as well. Then I worked in different organizations in Sri Lanka as well. So I joined SGAC in 2017. Actually, I was searching for space-related organization in internet. There I found this organization called SGAC, and I got the membership. And then I joined Space Safety and Sustainability Project group. There I found that I can apply my knowledge in making spacesuits. So there I work with a research group in SGAC to develop the spacesuit for the astronaut going to Mars. So from that, I gained a lot of knowledge and experience on this particular subject. And we studied about extravehicular activities and how these hazards of space as well. Then I joined different project groups at SGAC. Like we have a commercial space project group that we can engage with different technology developments and commercializations. Then I involved in organizing events around the Asia Pacific. From there, I got a lot of experience. I got a lot of contacts as well, and a network was built. So that is how I entered to space. It was my passion from childhood, and still it is my passion, and I'm doing it day by day, exploring new things. Yeah.
That's awesome. So now it's turn of Miss Sandali.
So, like I mentioned, since we have no space agency, and I can relate to all of these stories mentioned by Uthpala, Ms. Uthpala and Ms. Detera, because we come from developing countries, so we don't really see people going to space from our countries, and we don't really see the things happen inside a space agency. So we don't really know how to pursue a career in space. So first of all, I was always interested in science. I was curious about things. I wanted to ask questions. So I always used to sit in the front row and ask questions. So, but at that time, I didn't know a separate. I didn't know that there is a separate field dedicated to space sciences. So in 2011, when I was around 11 years old, I joined the School Astronomical Society. So that's how I got to know about, there's a separate field dedicated for space. So before that, I even, self-studied. I kind of knew about NASA, rockets, the space and planets, but I didn't know that there's a separate field for the space sciences. So the Astronomical Society actually played a major role in my life when it comes to choosing this career. So I even got the chance to eventually become the president of the society. So we actually did a lot of volunteering work, and we took part in several all-night quizzes, all-night and astronomical days. So we actually got to know about we actually got to know about space. We actually got to opportunity to be connected with the young space enthusiasts. So that was a important part of my life. After that, so in our childhood, we usually say we want to become doctors or engineers or lawyers. So at that time, I didn't know that we can actually become astronauts or rocket scientists. So I thought maybe I should become a doctor. So until my last year of A levels, which is like the last examination of high school, so I actually was doing biology. So I was studying biological stream. At that point, I was not really interested in that subject. I just did it because I thought maybe I will become a doctor and I'll do astronomy as a hobby. But after going to space camp and after realizing my passion for astronomy, I knew that I need to be doing what I love instead of doing something what others want me to do. So I eventually chose space sciences. So since Miss Uthpala mentioned, we don't really have a chance to pursue a degree in space. So because of that reason, I enrolled in a US university. I'm currently a community college student. So with the hope of studying aerospace engineering as my for my higher studies. So that's how it all began, and still exploring. So also I have to mention that space camp is the moment that inspired me to dream of becoming an astronaut or going to space, because like I mentioned, I was a shy introvert student. I don't really want to do public speaking, or I didn't really want to be in physically exhausting activities. I was more into like let's say I was into quizzes and stuff, but not like sports. But at that point, when I was when I chose to go to space camp, I really knew that I need to step out of my comfort zone. So that's when I really started dreaming of becoming an astronaut. So I may or may not go to space, but let's see where it takes.
So I think this story showed that not having enough financial strength or having a secure job in space sciences has not killed the dreams of pursuing their passion of these achievers. So we all follow our passion despite all the barriers we have. So then let's get back to Miss Bernadette. Can you explain a bit about SGAC and how Sri Lankan students can join this organization? And how would SGAC shape the future generation of female scientists?
All right. I'd love to share about SGAC. So as I mentioned earlier, so I think my career in space really started with SGAC. And SGAC is this amazing organization of students and young professionals, so between age 18 to 35 years old. We are all over the world, and we are this organization that is really representing the voice of the youth, the voice of the next generation. So officially, we are a nonprofit organization and we support the United Nations. And we do have a lot of activities all over the world. So one of them is through project groups. So basically, anyone can join the SGAC if you're interested in space, in any aspect of space, from any background, any country, you're free to join. And with these project groups, we do have some projects that are specific to a topic, say space law or space technologies or commerce and business side. So whatever your interest is. So we do have also, for life sciences and space medicine. So if you're in the doctor or a biology field, that is perfect for you as well. So anyone can join SGAC and can join any of those project groups. So that is one important pillar of SGAC, project groups. And then one thing that I'd like to mention is through events. So I mentioned earlier as well, so my first encounter with SGAC is when I attended an event. So events are very important because that is where you can meet other students, other young professionals, and also the speakers, like the subject matter experts. So you will meet them there. And for me, actually, that's where you can start identifying some role models for you to look up to, right? So for me, that is very important. So we do have a variety of events, workshops, webinars like this as well, and so on. And we do also have sometimes some mentorship program as well. So you can have a more direct mentorship from current space leaders. Yeah, so that's another aspect. So the working groups, the project groups, I mean, and the events. So that is what I want to highlight about SGAC. And in terms of how SGAC can really promote, women in space and advance the next generation. Well, we are the next generation. The outputs of the events of SGAC. So we usually come up with recommendations with actual suggestions, how we can change things, what kind of policies do we suggest to the space agencies, for example, and to the United Nations in general. So we submit those reports to them, and we get heard. So some of these recommendations actually are being considered by the decision makers, which is great, right? So for example, anyone here, like you're just a student and then you join SGAC, and then, looking at the big picture, your idea maybe during that event, if it gets relayed to the decision makers and they like that idea, then in the end, you can make an impact to the world, right? So at such a young age, this SGAC gives you a platform to do all of that, while again, meeting people like you who are interested in space, which is really cool. You get connected, as Uthpala mentioned. You will really have a network of fellow space enthusiasts from different backgrounds. So I think that is something that's really amazing. And one last thing, we do have a new initiative called the Our Giant Leap, and it also highlights diversity and so on, and women empowerment. So we are actually starting to have a more direct initiative in terms of promoting women in space as well. But we really do encourage that, and even in our events, we really make it a point to highlight gender equality in space. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I hope our audience got a clear idea about what SGAC means and how we can join it and what we can do in it. So our next question goes to Ms. Uthpala. You are a technology entrepreneur and an enthusiast in technology entrepreneurship. Do you think there are enough female space entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka? How can Sri Lankan girls enter the field of space entrepreneurship?
Well, if we consider space entrepreneurship in Sri Lanka, it is not only female. So still we are way behind the journey, and we don't have enough representation or much entrepreneurs in space field in Sri Lanka. If we consider female, so as female, you can enter into space entrepreneurship. First thing, you need to have an idea on what you are going to do. Entrepreneurship is starting something new that is good for the country or for you. And if we consider space entrepreneurship, it is a vast area. So if you are a person in technology field, you can come up with a new technology and enter into the space entrepreneurship field. For that, you have to have an idea. First thing is to get more knowledge, skills, and gather more ideas to build up your company or become a space entrepreneur. Then you have to have courage and you have to take the risk. Most importantly, entrepreneurship is not easy. So you can't be a successful entrepreneur by overnight. So you have to be courageous. You have to work on your idea. You have to commit. You have to put your time. You have to build your resources. And you have to commit for what you are doing. And it is also risky because there are a lot of entrepreneurs. But if you consider the journey of those entrepreneurs, it is not an easy task. So you start something, then you fail. It is like doing an experiment. If you do some bio or physics experiment, sometimes you can get success, sometimes you can't get success, but you have to continue trying. So you have to take the risk and explore new things. And first you have to find out new idea and then work on your idea. And if you want to go forward, you have to get the fundings. And there are a lot of organizations in Sri Lanka who help entrepreneurs. And if we consider female, there are a lot of female entrepreneurship development programs. And if we consider global picture, there are a lot of programs happening in globally for these ideas and to help entrepreneurs. So as female entrepreneurs, we can first come up with ideas and then we can pitch those ideas, and maybe we can gather more crowd with us and work on those ideas. So to be a space entrepreneur, first thing you need to have is courage and work on your ideas. And then you have to commit yourself and you have to believe in yourself as well, that you can be successful in space entrepreneurship or space field. That is the most important thing. Yeah.
Okay, so courage, creativity, and perseverance is the key. Next question directs to Ms. Sandali. As a Sri Lankan citizen and a STEMinist, what are your future plans to empower young girls like you towards the STEM education and space industry?
So, yeah. So I think each one of us face the same difficulties as Sri Lankan students who are willing to pursue a space career. So I think SED is a great platform which connects such students. So actually, I'm also one of those young space enthusiasts. I'm not an expert. So I mean, there could be people who are doing more than like us, but their stories can actually has something which we need to listen and to learn some. There might be something that we can learn from their stories. So I think making connections with those people and building a network with young space enthusiasts would be a great opportunity for them to understand their abilities and understand what kind of career they should choose. So as a STEMinist, what I usually do is volunteer in events, share my experiences. As I mentioned, I'm not a space expert, but more of I have few experiences I have gathered all these years. So I'm just sharing that, thinking that it might inspire somebody. So I actually know that so many young people have reached to me, and I what I've realized is that they have the passion, they have the dream, but they don't really know what is a path they should choose. So when I was at my age of 16 or 18, so I didn't even know what to choose. So I made a huge mistake choosing biology for A levels, and then I kind of had to regret that. I chose it. Why didn't I choose engineering at first? So likewise, if I had the right mentorship or the right guidance, I wouldn't have made that mistake. So I think sharing our stories and sharing all the mistakes that we have committed and sharing our struggles would be one thing that inspire them, and in order to correct their mistakes, or even to inspire. I want to achieve the goals that I aspire, because uh, if I can't change the whole system, I can change myself, right? So if I am willing to change myself and I'm willing to achieve my goals, I think that would it might be a small impact, but it would make an impact. So I would like to create that impact. So as a very young student and at this age, I think that's one of those things I can do, achieving my goals and helping someone else to walk in this same path. So that is my goals for now, but in the future I would like to get into a stable position and help others, especially the underprivileged students. So I actually know there are students who are not even able to have the opportunity to study about technology. They don't even have the access to proper internet connection or even smart devices. So I think maybe if I will be in a stable position, or if I can speak to other responsible organizations, that would be a huge assist in their lives as well. I think so. For me, my goal is right now. My goal is to change myself, uh, do the best to make an impact on the society.
Yes, a small impact is still an impact. That's what we all need to remember. So another question to you all. Space exploration has long been an area dominated by men. It's refreshing to see the accomplishments of women in this field coming more to light and to celebrate their unique achievements. What would you like to say to future generations of female scientists and young girls who aspire to be in the STEM field? Let's go first with Miss Bernadette.
Yes, thank you. Well, I can say a lot, but I think one of them is really to put yourself out there. I can understand what Sandali says. She used to be shy and really don't like to be very active or very exhausted, right? I can completely understand that. I used to be like that as well, but most people would not believe me. But really, it's really about putting yourself out there, because nothing will happen if you don't. That's the sad reality. Like, we are still in that scenario where if you don't, you will not advance, basically. So for example, in my case as well, so like you, we didn't have a space program before, and we didn't also have space entrepreneurs. So even if I considered that as well, to go into the business side of things, there weren't any opportunity, but really I put myself out there and really just applied to positions, actually, to opportunities that you're not even 100% or 80% like sure or confident about yourself that I may really qualified for that opportunity, right? Like, do you even have a chance to do this or to do that? Just apply. Just do it. Just send that email to some professor, to that some CEO, whoever. Just try, and you'll never know. So just put yourself out there, and it will really make a big difference. And also, I want to mention one point about again, I took this from what Sandali said, that like she made some mistakes, right? Like, if someone or if she knew someone back then, she wouldn't have made the mistake of choosing biology and so on. That is a good point. And I just want to add that even if you do make that mistake early on in your career, I mean, of course, ideally, if you really want to go into space, you should do it right away. You should do it from the start when you were young, if you have the opportunity, if you have the choice. But if you don't, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Actually, you can, if you want to have a career in space, it doesn't have to be from undergraduate. For me, you can start anywhere in your life, actually. Like even if you're like 40 and you come from a non-space background at all, and you just want to join the space industry, you can. So I think that's something that most people don't realize. So I know you might be still early in your life, in your career, but don't be pressured too much. You know that you need to achieve all of this early on in your life. That I really need to be an astronaut or an aerospace engineer by, I don't know, by 23. But don't be too hard on yourself as well. You can definitely be part of the space industry, even if you're old. So at any point in your career. So I think my point about that is really you can change your career. So that's actually what I did. I changed my trajectory basically, and I really advise you to design your own career. So no matter we all come from different backgrounds or from different points, but we all want to go to something related to space. So that's point A to point B, right? And there could be so many ways to do that from point A to point B. So you have the chance, you have the power to actually design your life, your career, and no one can say otherwise. So for me, really, again, put yourself out there, and you don't have to do it right now. You can join space anytime. For me, at least that's what I think. And yes, you can design your career. So I think sometimes there are events for students, usually like design a mission, right? That's a very common like mission design contest, or whatever things that we have. But really try to apply it to your life as well. Design your life, design your trajectory to space as well. You can definitely do it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bernadette. If there is no career to you according to your passion, just design it.
Make your own way.
Yeah. Ms. Uthpala, what are your ideas about this?
Yes. First thing, I want to say this is especially for female young crowd. So we are very strong. We are women and we are very strong, but we don't know our strength. Maybe sometimes the society say that we can't do that. There are a lot of instances in my life as well that they have, most of the people tell, what are you going to do with space? You are not good at this and there's no future, likewise. So you have a lot of saying from no. So no one encourage sometimes you. So you have to be strong in what you want, and you have to listen to your inner voice as well. And also, if I talk about getting opportunities, so sometimes there are a lot of opportunities come to us, but we don't take all the opportunities. But sometimes we again regret because we didn't take that opportunity. So when there is an opportunity, consider that. Take it as positive. If you don't know how to do it, just tell, I will take that and then learn to work on that. Don't neglect opportunities. Some opportunities sometimes comes once only in life. So take the best opportunities you have, learn from them and go forward, and use your strength and believe in yourself. So those are the advices that I have to give. And as females, we can do a lot of things. Just we have to get up and walk to the world. Then as females, we can do magic. So just enter with your courage, with your passion, and with your vision.
Never let go of an opportunity. That's Miss Uthpala's words. So, Miss Sandali, how about you?
So I have similar opinions as well. So for me, I think it's we should never miss an opportunity. We should always, go for it. I mean, we might not even be able to make it. We might not be able to win it, but it's always good to take part in opportunities or take part in contests. Sometimes, actually, we also fear. I mean, I also deal with this thing where I fear I'm not good enough. Even when I first got when I get invitations to take part in webinars and such activities, I actually fear whether am I good enough for this event. There be, I'm not a space expert. I do not know anything at all. Something like that. So more similar to imposter syndrome. So where I feel like, even though I have something, I feel like I'm not good enough. But I have realized that it's okay to be, not okay. So I am not going to be to whatever the contest or the event as the best person in the whole world, but as myself, right? So it's okay even if I fail. I mean, there will be so many events and opportunities in the future as well. But just we have to like Detera said, we have to step out and we have to actually take part in these opportunities. So for me, never missing opportunities, and also working hard and having the perseverance. Like you might not achieve something in your first shot or your first attempt, so you might have to keep trying, and you might have to build several other parts of different. You might have to take a different direction or a different path in order to achieve your goals, but still you have to don't ever miss on opportunities, or don't think your goals are too big. Just go for it and work towards your dreams. And also one of the other things are like judgments and rejections. So we always have rejections and judgments. So I always mostly I used to fear the judgment of people. Like what would they say? I didn't was like that. I didn't really paid attention to people's opinion, but with the time when people kept saying, you're not good enough, you might not be able to achieve it. So it kind of actually goes into your mind, and you eventually try to think in a way that maybe they might be true, but that's the point where you have to think that nobody can actually judge no one knows your story better than yourself. So people, I mean, we can't change people, we can change ourselves. So I think there are good judgments as well, there are bad judgments, there are like completely wrong judgments on yourself as well, but that's okay. Just try to ignore those, and just to take the good out of it, the positive part out of it. And also dealing with rejections. So recently I had this opportunity where I took part in this contest where they are willing to send 8 civilians to space. So it was a project funded by a Japanese entrepreneur, and then the astronauts will finally launched to space in a Spacex vehicle, which is like a huge thing. So I actually couldn't make it to the final crew. So at that point, I didn't really show it to others that I'm like having a hard time, because I was trying to be, I'm okay, this and that. But actually inside, I was having a hard time, because I used to feel like, I might not get a chance like this again. I might not, be able to take part in such a, immense opportunity. So, but with the time, I actually realized I spoke to another few contestants, and what I realized was like, um, you know, if I didn't apply or if I didn't apply to it at all, I wouldn't even know that I would be able to reach this far. I didn't realize some of the abilities that I had, and I wouldn't even like even when I applied to the contest, I did not fear that I'm good enough. I will be able to achieve it, or I will be able to go to the next phase. But I reached 4 phases, which is like a huge achievement. So I think it's okay. There will be rejections. It can be hard because when you see people going to space, and especially someone is if so recently I saw this in this mission, the Inspiration 4 mission. So it was such a special moment for me because one of those astronauts, I personally kind of have a connection with one of those astronauts, Dr. C.M. Proctor. So it was such a special moment for me. So while even watching that, I was kind of emotional. What if I won't get that chance for myself? So it was not only about myself, because I was kind of represent Sri Lanka as well. So it was kind of this, I had this huge opportunity, I mean, responsibility on my shoulders. But I mean, it's how our life goes on, right? We don't really get everything what we want, and it's okay. It's okay. We'll get through it. So it's okay to have rejections. I mean, maybe I'm not sure about the future. There can be even bigger opportunities. So it's okay to get rejection. Yeah, life goes on, and stay positive. Always, never miss opportunities and take part in, such opportunities. Take the opportunities. Yeah, that's it.
Life is full of ups and downs, but what matters is keep going. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, ideas, and knowledge with us. Now it's time for the questions from the audience. We've got a few questions in our chat box. I'll read them out. I want to be a scientist in NASA, and what are the subjects I need to learn, and how can I become such a one? I think any of you can answer that question.
I think not really specific subject, but definitely you need to major in the STEM field. You need to major in something that you like. It could be anything actually in the sciences. It depends on in your interest. And then actually NASA has a lot of they're doing a lot of research on a lot of areas. So I'm sure pretty much you can find an opportunity there with whatever field in the natural sciences.
Okay, I think in previous speeches, Bernadette, also it was mentioned that you have space law and space commercialization.
Yes.
Like, I think you can go from any field to NASA. So there's another question. I like the subject astronomy and the biology field. If I learn the two subjects as well, can I become a space doctor or someone like that?
Yes, I think.
Absolutely.
There are many areas that you can enter, because now there are a lot of things happening in space medicine and space biology as well. So yes, it is a good area. And there are doctors who support space missions as well. Yeah, you can join them as well.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to add to that, like the demand for space doctors is really increasing right now. As you know, in just a few years, we will go back to the moon again. And, you know, in the coming decades, we plan to go to Mars as well. And so, you know, life on those, on the moon and on the Mars would be very different. And then that's where space medicine is really yeah, going into right now as well. So it's really an exciting field. So if you are still early in your career and you want to go into that, it's actually really good. I envy you that you have you're that young right now. It's very exciting. So I really support that.
Okay. I think we have got some questions to the personal numbers also. What are the main challenges you experience as young space professionals, and what are the opportunities for school students to learn about space with the guide of professionals? I think Miss Uthpala will be able to answer because she said she was interested in at school as well.
Yes, yes. As school students, I think now there are many opportunities than we had in those days. If we consider Sri Lanka, there are few institutes also focus on space education in Sri Lanka. And there are few camps in Sri Lanka as well. And also, if we consider school level astronomical society engagements, there are more engagements and more workshops happening in school levels as well. And if we consider to enter to the globe, and there are a lot of challenges for students. If we consider NASA, they do NASA challenges, and there are many organizations mass designing. So you can work with them, like you can involve in their projects as school students. For SGAC also you can involve, but you have to be in the age of 18 to 35. So if you're in that age group, so you can work with different projects under different non-profit organizations and global organizations. And you can expand your knowledge and build up a network. That will be the first step. And then, as Bernadette mentioned, you can choose your field of interest and work on that. Yes.
Okay, I hope that explains to our. I think they are got clear about the subject. Have any questions? You have a limited time to direct them to us. Let's stay for a minute if we get any other questions.
For the meantime, I think I like to mention that aside from SGAC, there are other platforms offering free courses as well, or some events like hackathons with mentorship. So in that way, you can have direct guidance from professionals. Yeah. So for example, I'm actually a part of the RPD challenge organized by the multi-GNSS Asia as well. So it's not just a hackathon, but we really help teams to we provide lectures, and we really help them to provide to come up with actual prototypes later on and so on with free consultation with experts. So I think that's some other venues that you can try. There's so many right now. There's so many like online opportunities. So I think you could definitely try that.
So I have one question for Bernadette. When you started as a kid, engaged in astronomy, at that time there was no any space agency or something. But now in Philippines there is a space agency. And how do you feel the growth of that space? Like when you grow, your space field also of the country also growth. How do you feel about that? And how is the women engagement in as you feel in Philippines?
Right. So we recently just had our own space agency, which is really great. And I like to point out that we didn't really start from scratch. So before having the space agency, we were already able to send up a microsatellite called Diwata into space, even prior to having a space agency, which is good. And so yeah, it's not something that's from scratch and then we created the space agency. Although yes, it's still very new and very exciting. And actually, I'm really proud to say that the gender diversity and equality in the Philippines is relatively good. So I think it's compared to other countries, especially here in Asia or Southeast Asia, it's really okay. So right now in the Philippine Space Agency, as I remember, I think half or more than half of the staff right now of the staff of the Philippine Space Agency are women, which is something really really unique, I'd say. They didn't intentionally design it that way, but based on the qualifications and so on, so it just turned out that a lot of women are qualified for those roles, which is really awesome, to be honest. So yeah, I think we are fortunate in the Philippines that we really value gender equality and diversity relatively as compared to other countries. So yeah, that's the current situation.
I got another question that is also for Bernadette. We know you were grown in Philippines and moved to higher education in Japan. Let us know, how do you feel about the difference between Philippine and Japanese education opportunities, especially being a woman?
Right, that's a very good question. I mainly moved here to pursue higher education here in Japan because at that time we didn't have any in the Philippines. And that's really the main gap, right? Like if you really want to achieve something, if it means moving to another country, and in my case, I left my job as well, and I get to move already, to go out of the country, and I didn't have any preparation whatsoever. But I really did that because if I don't, I will be stuck there, and there's still no opportunity at that time for me. So yeah, I'd say the difference is still very big, even if we have the space agency right now. Japan still is, of course, more technologically advanced, and the facilities are here, the opportunities are here, I'd say, because as you know, we have JAXA, and also we have a lot of space companies here in Japan, and Japan is still one of the most influential space nation in the world. So yes, it's still it's the gap is still very big in terms of that. And in terms of the education and being a woman here, I think that is also where another gap is present. So I mentioned earlier that relatively in the Philippines, I think gender diversity and equality is relatively okay, relatively good or better than others. But unfortunately here in Japan, it's still not the case. In fact, they're still very much struggling with that aspect, to be honest. For example, in my graduate school, there's only one professor who is a woman. And yeah, so it's still pretty much male dominated, I'd say. And it could be hard. It could be hard. And you know, not just from my experience in Japan, but in the space events or conferences in general. You know, when you attend events, and of course, like you need to go to the restroom, right? And you know, the women's restroom is always full, right? With a long line. But sometimes, but then like, I remember years ago, and I was like, oh wow, nobody. I'm the only one using the restroom. I remember a time when I was thankful that wow, I didn't have to wait in line or something. And at first I was happy. I get to enjoy the restroom by myself. But then I realized that's not a good thing. That's actually a bad indicator. And we need more women participation in those events. But anyway, so yeah, going back to, I guess, yeah, women in space here in Japan. Yeah, I'd say it's still, there's still a lot of things to work on. Yeah.
I got another question. So it is for Uthpala. What kind of things we can do together with SGAC to the Sri Lankan field of space?
Well, yeah. With SGAC, I think we can do a lot of things. So one of the events that most of the Sri Lankan students and young professionals participated was Asia Pacific Space Generation workshop that was in last year. So in this year, we are going to organize Space Generation workshop for Sri Lankan students and young professionals too. So I think that will be a major step. So we can get the space community in Sri Lanka and we can focus on different things to develop space industry in Sri Lanka. And maybe we can put these recommendations into leaders in Sri Lanka as well. So that will be a one plan. So we hope to have this workshop early next year. So there are a few things that we are working on improving knowledge as well. And in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of students who have registered and got the membership in SGAC. So they have joined different project groups and most of them are doing well. I'm so proud about that. So they have got a lot of awards from different events and different projects as well. So that is a major area that we can improve our knowledge in space by exchanging ideas with global community and getting the networks with them. So yes, those are the things that we are focusing to establish in Sri Lanka. So workshop will be a major event, and if you are interested in space and exploring space development in Sri Lanka, so I would like to invite you. So we will announce that event next year, early next year. So you can enhance your knowledge and also contribute for the space development in Sri Lanka as well.
There is another question to Ms. Sandali in our chat box. What is the space? Can I know about the science project you did for Space Camp Scholarship Program?
So I actually did a scientific analysis on black holes. It is not necessary to do a project on black holes or astronomy. You could just do something related to physics, chemistry, biology, any. So it has to follow the engineering, scientific method. So that's all you have to do. So I So I did a small experiment with balloons where I showed how the mass is not changed in a star when they eventually become a black hole. So that's the science project which I did. But for anyone who is willing to apply for the scholarship, it necessarily don't have to be something, too professional or in a higher level, but it needs to be conducted according to the scientific method. So it can be any school experiment, or it can be a physics experiment. So yeah, you can even do, if you are really interested in space or astronomy, you can do something related to that as well. So yeah.
So since we don't see any other questions from the audience, there is another small announcement to make. As a part of the events organized for World Space Week in Sri Lanka 2021, a survey to analyze the attitudes people have regarding space exploration is made. The link to that is posted in the chat, and we hope that you will lend us a few minutes of your time to fill that out. With that, now I cordially invite Mr. Dasit Tilakaratne, the Chief Editor of SGAC and the Coordinator of the World Space Week in Sri Lanka 2021 program, to propose the vote of thanks. Mr. Tilakaratne, over to you.
Hello there, everyone. Good evening. The Students for the Exploration and Development of Space, or in short, SEDS, is a community for students to grow from knowing little but the amazement of the starry night sky to the complex mechanisms of engineering and mathematics. As the largest student community that is collectively promoting STEM, there is a large responsibility that we hold in our hands. This World Space Week, the theme of celebrating the accomplishments of women in space is expressed. And in Sri Lanka, a series of events was organized, the brilliant panel discussion we listen to right now being the close of World Space Week. Education sorry, I think the connection was lost. I would like to thank you all again for joining in. I would also like to thank Magneta Media, the media division of SED Sri Lanka, and its members for the immense support in organizing this event. The members and the board of SED Sri Lanka, and my fellow members from SED GOC as well. And I would also like to mention and thank Dr. D.D. Jia Dahanayaka from the Open University of Sri Lanka, the National Coordinator for World Space Week in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight, and wishing you all the best in a career in the science and engineering mathematics fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dasita. Once again, we express our heartfelt gratitude to our panelists, Ms. Bernadette, Ms. Uthpala, and Ms. Sandali, for joining us today, and also the service they have done so far to the field of space. I hope our audience got a lot from you and set up new goals of achieving the space. Let me say goodbye to you all with a quote from the famous astronaut Kalpana Chawla. The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it. Wishing you a great journey. Good night and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Bye.